In episode 28, titled Run a Full Vulnerability Management Lifecycle End-to-End, we frame vulnerability management as a continuous loop that reduces exploitable risk rather than a quarterly scramble. The loop begins with seeing what you truly own, continues with gathering credible signals about weaknesses, focuses effort on what can actually be exploited, and ends only to begin again after fixes are verified. When teams understand it this way, cadence replaces chaos, and leadership hears a simple promise. Every cycle, the organization becomes measurably harder to hurt. The aim is not perfection. The aim is a steady burn down of exposures that adversaries can realistically use while the business keeps moving. A trustworthy inventory is the bedrock because you cannot fix what you cannot name. That inventory must tie assets, software, and owners to business criticality so priority flows naturally. Record systems, versions, deployment patterns, and data sensitivity in plain, verifiable fields rather than narrative notes. Map each item to a responsible owner and a service it supports so remediation requests land on someone who can act and understands why it matters. When a scanner reports a flaw or an advisory lands, the inventory tells you which application, which environment, and which manager to contact, and it tells leadership why this fix competes for time with feature work or maintenance. Inputs arrive from many places, and the program must welcome all of them. Scanners contribute signatures and live probes. Vendor advisories describe defects and patches. Software Bill of Materials, spelled SBOM on first mention and SBOM thereafter, reveals inherited components, and bug reports from internal testers or external researchers show how systems behave in the wild. Aggregate these signals into one backlog that normalizes naming, versions, and identifiers, so different tools and reports talk about the same thing in the same way. Note sources and timestamps so provenance is preserved for audits and for confidence scoring. A single queue prevents blind spots born of fractured tools and team silos. Scoring risk begins with the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, spelled CVSS on first mention and CVSS thereafter, but it cannot end there. Add exploitability signals from reputable feeds, proof of concept code presence, and active exploitation reports in your sector. Add exposure context from your environment, public reachability, authentication posture, network segmentation, and data sensitivity. And account for compensating controls such as virtual patching or strict allow lists that genuinely reduce likelihood or impact. Write down the factors that move a score up or down so reviewers can follow the reasoning and repeat it later. Contextual scoring prevents whiplash between high on paper and low in practice, or the reverse. Prioritization turns scores into action by marrying them to service-level expectations that respect asset type and criticality. Define response windows by severity, and class external critical services move faster than internal utilities. And assign clear owners by system or product line so tickets do not drift. Service Level Agreement, spelled SLA on first mention and SLA thereafter, targets should be realistic and audited, not aspirational prose, and they should include both time to start and time to complete. When a ticket is raised, it carries a deadline, a named owner, and a short rationale tied to business criticality, not just a severity label. Consistency here builds trust across engineering and operations. Fixing issues requires a toolbox broader than patch or perish. Patches close most code and platform defects when they exist, but configuration changes often address missteps in encryption, authentication, or network exposure faster than code can ship. Where patches are unavailable or destabilizing, compensating controls such as web application firewall rules, feature flags, or targeted segmentation can reduce likelihood while a durable fix is prepared. Document the chosen path with a clear statement about the dimension it moves, likelihood, impact, or both, and how you will verify the change worked. When each fix carries a small theory of change that can be tested, confidence grows with every closure. Verification is how the loop proves it is working. Rescan targets after remediation to confirm signatures are gone and vulnerable versions no longer appear in inventories. But do not stop there. Functionally test the control path when the issue affected behavior, such as authentication flow, crypto settings, or network boundaries. Capture evidence artifacts, a before and after scan extract, a configuration diff, a successful negative test, and attach them to the ticket before closure. Closure without evidence is a pause, not an end, and it invites the same issue to return as code refactors or infrastructure evolves. Evidence makes improvements durable and audit-proof. Some exposures cannot be closed immediately without disproportionate risk to availability or delivery, and that is where exception management earns its keep. Exceptions must be time-bound with an expiration date, carry a documented rationale grounded in business context, and include a scheduled review before the deadline arrives. They should list any compensating controls in place and the conditions that will trigger early reconsideration, such as active exploitation or new data sensitivity. Sign-offs must include the accountable owner for the system and the executive who accepts the residual on behalf of the organization. Exceptions should feel rare and slightly inconvenient, which keeps them honest. Modern estates stretch beyond traditional hosts, so containers, cloud services, and third-party components must be first-class scan targets rather than side notes. Scan container images pre-deployment and continuously. Tie findings to the base images or Docker files that generate them, and block known bad artifacts in the pipeline where feasible. For cloud services, use configuration and entitlement scanners that understand the provider's control plane and treat misconfigurations as vulnerabilities with equal seriousness. For third-party components, rely on SBOM-aware tools that flag inherited flaws and track fixes back to upstream vendors and internal integration teams. Treat each domain with its specific mechanics while presenting results in a single language. Safe rollout is the difference between improvement and outage. Integrate with change management so patches, configuration shifts, and control adjustments land during planned windows with rollback steps documented and tested. Change tickets should reference the vulnerability items they address, list dependencies, and include a simple backout plan that names the person who will execute it under pressure. Monitoring thresholds should be agreed in advance so a rollback is a routine decision when signals misbehave, not a debate at 2 in the morning. When change control and vulnerability management travel together, confidence rises and windows open more readily. Threat intelligence keeps the program honest about timing. Monitor for high-risk common vulnerabilities and exposures, spelled CVE on first mention and CVE thereafter, that are being exploited in the wild or that land squarely on your critical components. When those appear, trigger out-of-band responses that override normal cadence. Rapid triage, accelerated patch or mitigation, and temporary hardening, such as tighter access control or rate limiting. Record the decision and the evidence that justified it so later reviews can test whether the acceleration paid off. A nimble response to hot CVEs is a hallmark of a program that defends reality, not paperwork. Reporting closes the loop and steers the next one. Mean time to remediate, spelled MTTR on first mention and MTTR thereafter, shows how quickly issues move from detection to verified closure. SLA adherence shows whether promises match outcomes, and risk burndown shows whether the combination of fixes and exceptions is trending the right way across critical services. Segment these metrics by business unit, asset class, and severity so leaders see where help is needed and where practices are working. Use trends to tune scanners, retune priorities, and invest in the fixes that remove classes of issues instead of swatting the same fly forever. Numbers that lead to decisions are the ones worth keeping. In conclusion, treat vulnerability management as the continuous loop that it is and make it visible on a calendar with owners and evidence at every step. Start with the inventory that ties assets and software to owners and criticality. Funnel all inputs into one normalized backlog, deduplicate mercilessly, and score risk with CVSS plus exploitability, exposure, and real compensating controls. Prioritize with SLAs that respect asset type, fix with patches, configuration, and compensating controls, and verify with rescans and functional tests before closing. Keep exceptions tight and timed, include containers, cloud, and third parties, integrate with change control, watch hot CVEs, and report MTTR, SLA performance, and burndown to guide improvements. As a concrete next action, direct a focused 14-day push on the top 10 exploitable vulnerabilities with named owners and verification evidence so the loop demonstrates momentum the business can see. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.